Hey, Patrick, back with you, episode 8 of the Main Street Money Show podcast. And we're continuing to work through the second step and the wealth steps of operations and just little subtopics. Part of going through the process is getting organized, but you're ultimately figuring out where your income sources are coming from, where your future income sources are coming from, and those sources differ whether or not you're an employee or you're self-employed or maybe you own a business. Maybe you inherited a substantial amount of money and you don't have to go out and work for wages, and you are living off of dividends or some type of portfolio that was passed down via a trust. And so you never know what type of income source someone has until you sit down and have a conversation with them. A lot of times we make judgments based on appearances and, so-and-so came from money, or, well, we don't know. We don't know that person. We don't know where they came from. We don't know their background. We don't know their family lineage. We don't know what inheritances they have. We all come from a different financial lineage. And so what one individual has to do in order to pay the bills and get ahead financially is completely different than what the next person has to do to get ahead financially. Maybe they are already financially ahead. And this is where the emotional aspects of money and the psychology of money really comes into play. Because if you are out with your friends and, they pass you the tab and say, hey, your share is $49, but yet you only had, one piece of the appetizer, then you're thinking that, what, I don't want to participate because, I didn't contribute to all that expense. And so you might have a little bit of resentment. And that's more of a understanding of the financial psychology, and I get a little bit into that, but ultimately how that individual reacts in comparison to the individual that received $150,000 a year in a trust fund. They might look at that $49 bill and be like, hey, you know what, I'll take care of it, and I'm gonna grab the whole bill. It's a completely different psychological aspect of money. But ultimately what you have to do here is figure out, okay, let's analyze where are you at right now. Are you working? Are you getting W-2 wages? Are you getting 1099 income? Are you getting dividend income? Are you getting income from your business that you have sold for a couple $1,000,000 and now it's time to figure out where that money needs to go to? But ultimately, the later in life that you learn these concepts, the harder it will be to reach financial independence and have ultimate control over your funds and where they're going. So that's what we're going to talk about in this episode. It's going to be a real quick one. It's just a real quick one. I sound like I'm from the South. Hey, y'all. Patrick here, Main Street Money Show podcast. Actually, I am from the South. I'm from North Carolina. So if you're listening to this and you're somewhere in the United States, that's where I'm at, is North Carolina. We got to figure out what your wages are doing. What do your wages tell a story based of? Are you a high income W-2 earner where you're making a couple $100,000 a year and you have the means to get ahead very quickly with those wages? Then why do you need to quit and go start a business whenever maybe you just need to stay there a couple more years and be completely financially independent? But there are options whenever you're making wages. There's not a lot of options as far as deducting your taxes whenever it comes to wages. You got your basics like 401k deductions and health insurance type related expenses, HSAs. I mean, there's a lot of different tax strategies, and the reason why you have to understand these different income sources is because you have to figure out what tax strategies are available to your situation. So if you work but your spouse doesn't work because they have different income sources, then the tax strategies that are available to your spouse may be different than what's available to you, the individual that's working wages. But there's different hurdles depending on which area you're located in. You will have to figure out what those barriers to entry are. But ultimately, you're getting paid for your time. So let's just say you're enslaved to your job and you want to work your way out, but you have the opportunity to use your skill set as a carpenter. carpenters make pretty good money whenever they're very skilled. So that carpenter maybe works a W-2 job and then he does carpentry work on the side. And then that's considered 1099 income. So there's pros and cons of whichever way you go, whichever way you want to live your life. But the employee options, this slide's a little messed up here if you're watching on YouTube. There's different things that you must do if you're an employee. So, choosing the right correct tax exemption, choosing the right health insurance, optimizing your employer benefits, reviewing your group life insurance, figuring out if you have option to a 401k Roth or traditional 401k, setting up auto contributions. There's a lot of different things that you have to figure out. But that's just one section. We'll do another episode on the different other sources of income. But you can see here on the screen, we talk about how to interpret your pay stub and that kind of stuff if you go through the master class. But that's it for this episode. I don't want to give away the whole store by showing everything that's in this course. But this course that I put together it's massive. It's the education that I wish that I would have had as a college student or, working in my mid-20s. But I also wish this education was taught for the retirees because it's not just about your income sources. There's so many different topic areas for the retirees that they may sound basic, but you have to figure out, okay, what areas are specific to my situation? Is it Social Security, Medicare, portfolios, distributions, long-term care, leaving beneficiaries on the account? There's so many different areas. So that's what this course is about. Go ahead, take a look at it. If you haven't read the book yet, Divided Money, you can buy the launch box, and the Divided Money is in there as well. But you have access to the podcast, all the library, or all the videos in the library, the workbooks, the books, the videos, and then you have access to me if you need to have a conversation. So here to help, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Main Street Money Show podcast.